Hello and welcome to the Conquerors show. My name is Gadoni and I will be your host. Every one of us has a story, and there is nothing that you have gone through that someone else has not gone through, or even worse. So let's hear your stories here, and we will be able to encourage each other and build each other. So today I have an amazing guest, amazing guest to start us off. And her name is Celine. Celine has an amazing story, and she had to be our very first guest to kick us off on our Conquerors show. And our aim is for you to be encouraged and for you to, have the strength to move on another day. Yeah, so Celine, karibu sana. Welcome to our show.
Asante sana Gadoni. Thank you for having me.
Karibu sana. So I know I don't even want to ask you so many things. I just want you to go straight on to your story. But first of all, you can tell us who you are.
Well, Celine is my name is Celine. Mm-hmm. I'm born again. Amen. First of all. Yeah. I am a mother of 3, an 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 10-year-old. Mm. And I'm married.
Mm, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Amen. That is good. So you're a mother of
3.
3.
Yes.
You.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. No, you look so beautiful.
Thank you.
I mean, to be a mother of 3. So start us off with, how, because definitely you didn't just wake up and had kids.
Yeah.
And, got married. So nataka tuanze hapo, where you came from and, everything about you.
Well, I don't really know how to start, but let me start from when I was very young.
Yeah.
Dad and mom separated when I was barely 4 years old, and mom left us with dad. And she left with my younger brother, and she never came back.
Wow.
So we were left with dad. Now our life had turned around because we were left with dad.
Yeah, I know.
We were so used to 2 parents. But then dad stepped up and he became that parent. And life did not change that much.
Yeah.
But in the midst of it all, because dad could not bring us up alone,
yeah.
we were surrounded by uncles, aunties, and my grandparents. And unfortunately, dad had an accident when I was 7 years old, and he passed on. And now life changed completely. Mom never came back. For me and my brother, my younger brother who followed me, life changed for us. Now from a good school to another school, life changed for us.
I know.
And now I was so used to dad. Nobody cared to explain to us that this is death, because as a child, you don't know what is really happening. Exactly. Yeah. But life continued, and grandma and grandpa took up the role. But life was hard because grandpa
Did you ever want to find out where your mother was?
I was very young, really young, and nobody wanted to talk about it. So there were no questions, no one to ask those questions. So grandpa was a drunkard, he still is, and he would hurl insults day in, day out. My life was so full of insults. Huh?
Yeah.
And there were these uncles, my dad's cousins, who used to live with us. Those ones who come from up country, because we used to live in the outskirts of Nairobi. And they started molesting me as young as 7 years, 8 years. And I don't think my dad's brothers they didn't know how to bring up a child, because each time I would do something, they would beat me up. I have scars all over my body because they would whip me, they would beat me up. And so I became this quiet child with no one to tell what is happening. And at times I became stubborn, a bully and all that. But then when life continued and I became this quiet, and my solace were novels. I used to read a lot. Yeah. A lot of novels. Can you imagine, at class 3, I had read All Mills and Boons. Daniel Steele's at class 4. Yeah, they were my solace. And life continued. Life of being beaten, insults here and there.
Yeah.
And then I joined high school and been molested. Then I joined high school at 14. And within that period, I met this guy who is I think he's the only person who said, I love you. And those words are very powerful to a person who has never been told such words. Huh?
Yeah.
And so I fell hook, line, and sinker. And within no time, I had gotten pregnant for him. And at that time, I was 15.
This was in Form
3.
Form 3.
Yes. This was in Form 3. I was 15 years old. And I got married at 15. And at 16, I had my first child. I actually did my KCSE in his house because we registered, and then by this time my baby was a bit big, and I would leave him with him, and go to school, and I sat for my KCSE.
Yeah.
And within no time, by 18 years, I was pregnant again. Yeah, and this time he was moving out. He was moving out with my best friend. He was going out with my best friend, and so we had quarrels, and I went back home. And when I went back home,
with your 2 babies,
with my
you were pregnant.
I was pregnant,
your second baby.
And a toddler, because they had an age gap of 2 years. So when I went back home, nobody really cared. By this time, my grandma had passed on. She had passed on when I was pregnant with my firstborn.
Yeah.
So no one really cared. And I remember I went and I stayed alone in her house.
Yeah.
Because grandpa had moved on to a new house.
No, let me ask you before, let me just cut you short. What was going through your head? Like, you have lost your mother, your father, then your grandmother passes on.
Nothing. I think I was immune to pain. I keep saying I was immune.
So much pain.
I had so much pain in me that I didn't know how to handle this. And I had handled so much pain in my young life, so I didn't know how to do it. I was so immune to pain that I didn't feel some of these things. Huh?
Wow.
I felt like life is supposed to be like this. Yeah, so I was normalized that way.
Yeah.
And so when I went back to my grandma's house, when labor pain came, I actually was depressed. I remember I would remove laundry outside, and then I would sit from morning to evening, not remembering that I need to do laundry.
Wow.
And so when labor pain came, I just went inside, locked the door, put my other baby on the bed, and my first nene was a CS.
Yeah.
My firstborn was a CS,
Yeah.
which was barely 2 years. So I have a scar and I'm laboring. For 3 days I was alone in that house. 3 good days.
3 days in labor?
Yes, without food, without no one.
So where was this your husband?
He was out there having fun with my best friend. At this time, he was having fun with my best friend. They even have a baby, a bit younger than my second born. Yeah, so on the 3rd day, I remember begging God to let us die. And I told God, if you let us die, let even my firstborn die, because I don't want him to experience the kind of life. Yeah. But on the 3rd day, I remember with the last strength I had, I pushed my baby and I collapsed. A neighbor heard me screaming, and my aunt now came.
You had not eaten anything?
I had not eaten anything for those 3 days. Also, my baby was here. He had not eaten anything. But sometimes he would run to the cupboard. There was an ugali for leftover ugali, and he would just grab it. And that is how my second born came into this world. And I remember when I came to, they had folded him with a shawl that was so dirty. And I remember I would see you coming to visit, and what would make me happy is the polythene paper you're carrying, because I needed that to use it as a diaper. Yeah, because
the polythene paper.
The polythene paper. You know, those eras we used to have the carry-on bags, the polythene papers. And life continued, and it became so worse. I would go for casual jobs and just to fend for my children. It became so worse that I decided, let me go back to my husband. It's much better. And so I went back to my husband, and we would do casual jobs and just bring up our children. And I knew he was having affairs out there, but I was not worried. But then God opened doors, and he left for the US. And when he left, life changed for us because he would support us. And then after 2 years, he decided to come back and see us. Life had changed for us. I had bought somewhere, like a plot, and put up pigs and chicken, but I was not living there. So when he came back, we decided, since you're going back, let us have our last child, because we always wanted 3. And as soon as I got pregnant, dude changed. As in, he started being arrogant, and I had a problematic pregnancy. And I started bringing women into the house in my presence. So I had normalized sleeping on the couch, because he would come at night with women, 2, 3, 1, and some of them were people I knew. So,
what?
Yes. So
what are you talking about?
Yes, I had nowhere to go. I have 2 children. I'm pregnant. I have nowhere to go. So I either have to cooperate or just leave, and I have nowhere to go. But this
so
time,
you would go to the bedroom and
yes,
you would sleep at the couch?
Yes. I had gotten so used to sleeping on the couch.
With your 2 kids?
No, they had a bedroom, so I would sleep on the couch. And I would open the door for them. So I had to sleep on the couch.
This time you were pregnant?
I was pregnant. And at 5 months pregnant, one day he came home with 2 women. And our bedroom was upstairs.
2 women?
Yes. And it was in the wee hours of the morning. And it was a holiday. So my children were home. And they were moaning and making a lot of noise. And I knocked on the door to just tell them to shut up, because the children are in the house. Dude came out, slapped me, and threw some money at me and told me, go have an abortion. But this time he had sold the plot and all the the pigs and the chicken in the plot, and he didn't tell me. He didn't even give me money. So that is the time I decided, this is it. Let me leave. So I took my children, the money, and just left. And since,
so where are you going?
I don't know. I'm just leaving. I wanted to get as far away as I could from that house, because there was no peace, and I was pregnant. So I counted the money. The money was 20K. And the first thing I did was I went to church, because I was bleeding. I decided, if I go to hospital with this money, it will get finished.
How many months are you?
5 months. So I just went to church and I cried to God. And I remember holding my stomach and telling God, this baby has been rejected by its dad, but you will not reject the baby. And so with that money, I budgeted for the money. I looked for a small house, 500 shillings. I bought essentials, basics. And with the money that I had left, I started a business of buying charcoal. I would go to Narok, I would buy charcoal in wholesale and sell to retailers. And that is how I survived until my daughter was born. It was another CS. And so when my daughter was born, after 3 months, I decided my saving is dwindling and I need to do something. And I looked for a business idea, and the idea that was coming into my head was living for Southern Sudan. So I would buy clothes at Eastleigh and take them to Southern Sudan.
To sell them?
Yeah. But this time my daughter was around 3, 4 months, 5 months. And I looked for a woman to look for her. And my other children also. And the business did so well. Sometimes I would be in Kenya, sometimes I would be in Southern Sudan. And the business did so well, and I had a lot of money. Life changed for us. And one time, I bought this second-hand phone. A friend just sold it to me. And I thought, this is a good deal, because it's a good phone. And I bought the phone. Unfortunately, it was a stolen phone, and I didn't know. So I was tracked down and arrested. I was taken to Central Police Station for 4 days, from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then on Monday, they took me to court, to Milimani Law Court. I took a plea of not guilty, and they gave me a cash bill of 150. And I was not worried. I had that money in my account. I was not worried at all. And what I did is I called my best friend then, and I told her, take my ATM, go withdraw money today, tomorrow, because you cannot withdraw 150 one time, tomorrow, and the following day, just come and pay bail for me. And I was taken to Langata Women. I never saw her again. And I stayed in Langata for 1 year, 8
Your
months.
best friend?
Yes, she was my best friend back then. And that is how I stayed in Langata for 1 year.
So you mean she took the money and went?
Yes. She never came back. Nobody knew where I was. She didn't even tell anyone. She just disappeared with my money. And so after 1 year, 8 months, my case was withdrawn for lack of evidence. And so I went back home. And I remember when I came out of prison.
So you spent 1 year?
8 months, almost 2 years. Yeah. So I went back home.
Because of a phone?
Yes. And I remember when I came out of prison, I was very sick. I had typhoid and amoeba. And I walked up until to a bus stage. And I remember one conductor who knew me asking me, "Are you sick?" Because I was very thin. And I told him, "Yes, I'm not. I'm unwell." And he asked, "What do I do for you?" I told him, "Just give me bus fare up to our place." I used to live in Luakabete. And buy me a bottle of water. And he did exactly that. And later on, he passed on.
So this 1 year, where are your babies?
I am yet to know. So I went to where I had left my children. And when I asked the landlord, he said that you didn't leave your children with me. I don't know where they are. And what was happening is my children were hopping from one friend to another. Today they are here, tomorrow they are here. And where I found them, when she saw me, she said, "You're here. Now the stigma has started. You're here. Now take your children and go." And I did exactly that. And I asked her, "Let her stay for the night. We'll leave tomorrow." Yeah. She said, "No, you can't be here. I can't be seen with you." So, and that is how I took my children. I went to church, the church I used to fellowship in. And I remember I talked to my pastor. I told him what was happening. And he said, "Now that you've told me that, I can't help you. The only way I can help you is take this 100 and buy food for your children." It was 100 shillings. And I remember I was so confused, and as in I don't know where to go. I'm also afraid because of what people will say, and also others don't want to see me because I've been in prison. I'm a bad person. So I called a few friends. Nobody wanted to be with me, to stay with me. Nobody would take us in. And that is how I started a life of sleeping on the streets when we don't have anywhere to go. And sometimes I would do casual jobs and we would sleep in a lodging.
So you had nothing?
I had,
like there was no
lost
money? Your best friend took everything?
Everything. I had lost my money. My landlord had taken my things. And I had nothing. I don't even know where some of my certificates are till today. And that was back in 2014, 2015. So life just continued for us. We would sleep on the streets.
With your 3 babies? With
my 3 babies. And one time while I was sleeping in the streets, I keep saying those people were from maybe a drinking spree or a stealing spree. And but at this time, my children were with a friend.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Sometimes they would go for a sleep.
So you were just alone?
I was just alone. And they gang raped me. What? About 12 to 15 men. Yeah. And
12 to 15 men?
Yeah, they gang raped me, they sodomized me. And because of the pain, I lost consciousness. And in the morning, I called a friend of mine who I had met way back, and I told her this and this is happening. And I can't even walk. Just come and take me to hospital. I was taken to Kenyatta. I was treated at Kenyatta, and I had an operation at Kenyatta. Yeah. By this time, there's this friend of mine I had met in prison. She works with prisoners. And by this time, she was creating an organization, and she looked for help for me. And a certain church took up the role, and they paid for my rent, and they paid for my children, school fees and all that, food. And so on 2016, I concentrated on healing. And I'm still healing outside physically, but inside I am carrying a lot. So much pain and trauma in me. And I didn't know how to let it go. I didn't know how. I'd go for counseling, but I still, there was so much in me. And so around 2017, she said, Celine, since now you're healing, just come and work with us. And I was so happy because now I can fend for my children. I can start from somewhere. And I started working, and she took me to a children department. Children who accompany their mothers in prison. And I worked there till, then one day on December, on my way home, December 2017, 22nd, on my way home, I just a few meters, around 9:30, a few meters from my gate, I met these men. They were sitting and they said hi. I said, maybe these are people who know me. And I said, I hide back. And they said, Madam's mama. And I asked them, why are you asking me to stop? You don't know me. They said, ukijaribu kupita hapo, we'll kill you. One of them had a gun slung over his left side, and he had on a long coat. And my instinct told me, give them your handbag. So I gave them my handbag, and they said, we don't need your handbag. And my handbag had a lot of money and 2 phones. They asked me, they said, follow us. So one of them came on my left side and the other one on my right side. And they said, if you dare talk to anyone on the way, we'll kill both of you. So even if you met with us that day, you would have thought we were together. So I followed them to a place where there was a river, but the river was dry, but the bush was so overgrown. And they stole my clothes, and they gang raped me again, 6 of them, and they sodomized me. And I remember they cut me up with a razor, and they strangled me. And I've always told myself that I'll never die, as in I cannot. It's not yet my time to die. There's a purpose in me. And so when they were doing that, my heart was singing a song, When the Oceans Rise. Yes, and it helped me to numb the pain. But before they finished, I just lost consciousness. And when I came to maybe 2 hours later, they had left. And I called my sister-in-law. They had put my head on my bag. I pulled my bag, felt for my phone, and called my sister-in-law. I told her, this is where I am. This is what is happening. They had put sticks in me. And I told my sister-in-law, if I manage to pull the sticks, I'll try to crawl. If I don't manage, just you guys come and get me here. And I did manage to crawl, but I managed to pull the sticks. And my sister-in-law came with a friend, and they took me to, we reported the case to the police station, because you cannot be treated when you're a rape victim before going to the police station. And I was taken to Nairobi Women, and I was treated there. I was admitted in hospital. For almost a month, I was admitted. And when I came back, I moved places because now I couldn't live there. But I didn't go far because by this time, my second son was in class 8. Actually, it's my pastor who moved me. He said he asked for a friend and told a friend, just look for a house for her. He paid for it. And I moved. When I came out from hospital, I moved to a totally new environment. But then I was so messed up. Withdrawal symptoms, panic attacks. I would just panic in the middle of the road, just sit down. Actually, it is God if I'm alive today, because I would go to town and just panic in the middle of the road. And I remember, because my boys now are in boarding schools, and my daughter, I was living with my daughter only. I would let her go to school, draw the curtains were never drawn. My house was always dark. And just wait for her in the evening and open the door, send her to the shop, would cook and just sleep. Actually, my neighbor knew me after a year. Nobody knew who was staying in that house. They knew my daughter, but they didn't know me. But then I remember the pain was too much to handle. nightmares and all that. And I remember one day crying to God and telling him, God, if you won't heal me, I'm going to die. Because I felt like the wounds were too much for me to handle. Also, my pastor was praying for me, walking with me. And then friends said things about me. I had completely no one. I told God, I need to heal. And you're the only one. These kind of wounds, only you can heal them. Because I am messed up. And if I don't heal, I'll either commit suicide or lose something worse. And in the midst of it all, God started speaking to me and said, you need to forgive. For me to heal you, you need to forgive. And the first person you need to forgive is your mom. I felt so justified. How can I forgive a person I don't know? Exactly. A person who left you. Because I've gone through all this. If she was there, I wouldn't have gone through all this. And God said, keep speaking. You need to forgive. And one time I felt it was too much. I started thinking of suicide. And one time I gathered the courage to do it. I bought poison, I bought everything. I took my children to my auntie. I didn't tell her what I was planning, and I was just there. But then just before I did, I had planned to do it in the middle of the night. I remembered a stranger who had said in my inbox, hi, after a mutual friend told him what I was going through. And he had said hi, and he had said, Celine, I'll walk with you till you heal. I'm your friend. I had ignored the message completely. It was 1 month later that I just went to the inbox and said hi. And he hired back. He happened to be online. And I told him, I am planning to do this. And I just came here to tell you that I'm planning to do this. And if people don't see me, if you don't see me online, if you hear people asking about me, I don't know, but just say I committed suicide. And he managed to speak to me, and he convinced me otherwise. And by morning, I had thrown away all that poison. And he used to live in Nakuru. I was in Nairobi. So he traveled all the way from Nakuru and came to see me. And a friendship was born. And he walked, just like he had said, he walked with me. He was my best friend. That person I would call in the middle of the night, and he would just pick. And he was a friend, just a friend.
Was he married?
No, he was not married.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, and I had seen him in a group I was in, Single and Saved. But I felt he was not my kind. And then he's this guy who is young, who is not married. And he was a moderator in that group. Then he was this calm and quiet. As in, no, I had not even thought about him. And so he walked with me. He would take me for counseling. He started also praying with me via the phone. He was that kind. Sometimes I would even point out a girl and tell him, you need to know this girl. She's good. She's wife material.
Wow.
Yeah, he was that kind of a friend, and he really worked with me. And when God spoke and said, Celine, I forgive my uncles, those who molested me. I actually called one of them and told him we need to meet.
Wow.
And he was so shocked. And we met, and we had lunch together. And I told him, for all the things you did to me when I was young, I have forgiven you. And he said, Celine, I have been fighting with this. I didn't know how to approach you. I didn't even know that you remember those things. I told him, I have forgiven you completely. Just go back to God and ask him to forgive you. And I kept letting go of pain. And it was like God was molding something new. I changed, as in even my facial expression changed. I became this glowing woman.
Wow.
I started laughing with people, knowing people. I stopped hiding in my house. I started showing up in places. And one time last year, around, also my pastor was walking. My pastor and his wife were walking with me.
Wow.
As in really walking with me. And I also had another friend, this friend I had met in prison. They were really walking with me. And a few other people God brought my way. It's like I needed a complete overhaul.
Exactly.
New friends,
Yeah,
new environment,
yeah.
new everything. And one day last year, October, when God started speaking, and he said, Celine, do you know this is your husband?
Hey!
And
wait. Let's take a breather. We'll be back shortly.
Finding God, you found your confidence.
Yeah.
You know, finding God, you know, hey, I'm running.
You know,
this
finding
thing.
God doesn't mean that you understand what is within you.
True.
And once you understand what is within you, nobody can bring you down.
Oh yes.
Nobody can be like, okay, today I'm coming to Saul and tell her she's not good enough. Nobody will cross, because it's like an armor of shield around you.
Yes.
As soon as you realize. So for us today is just to urge you to always remember who you are.
Yes.
No, we talked about identity, and we said that only identity should be affirmed by God. As remember that all the time, you're a daughter of God. You can just come back and say, when you ask means He has it.
Yes.
There is no need that will ever come that will ever exhaust what God paid for.
Wow.
He paid in full. So all the sin of humanity, past, present, and future, was fully paid for in the blood of Christ Jesus. Fully paid for. So man was exonerated. He was excused. The sin of man was expunged from the record. That is a legal term. It was expunged. It was totally taken away, as though it has never existed.
The reason why this woman got into this mess was because Adam was there. Let me tell you, you have been a good man. You go to church, you pray, you tithe, you do your business, you live from home and you go to work, then from work you come up and you do all those things which you think are good, and they are good in themselves. Let's qualify that. But it just ends at that. You are not any different.
Life's expectation plus life's reality is equals to frustration. Even though we have expectations, we should not be so rigid. We must have a fluid mentality.
Flexibility.
Yes.
Yeah.
It can happen
Or not.
or not.
Yes.
And just because it didn't happen at the expected age, doesn't mean that it won't happen in
Again.
future.
So you just move it forward.
Yes.
Unasongesha tu mbele pole pole.
Kwa teens, kama unajua akuongelesha usichukua an advantage, so au ati uwezi sasa soma juu unajua hata kuongelesha, soma.
There is no millisecond in your answered prayer. The moment you say, Father, I need help, God sends help there and then.
All right, we are back, and I think we are at our climax, where Celine is just about to get married somebody. I think for me, before we even get to this guy and your marriage, I think you're just a testimony. You know, you're just a testimony. In a span of 3 years, you were gang raped thrice. Thrice. Did you ever think that God hated you?
Yeah, I thought about that a lot. Actually, when people said that I was cursed, I'm just a bad omen, I believed that, actually. And I believe this is what Satan wanted me to believe. This is what the devil wanted me to believe, that I am. God hates me so much. Whereas the Bible said, I am the father to the fatherless. And God says He loves me with an everlasting love. But I didn't see all that with all these things happening to me.
Exactly,
Yeah. And
so this guy, so this your friend who walked with you And you would even point out a woman for him.
Yeah.
But he was not interested.
He was not interested. He's very cautious, as in he's very cautious, and a thinker, as in those guys wait on God for even when they want to do something small.
Exactly.
They're waiting for God
yeah,
to tell them,
yeah.
to give them a go ahead. So he was waiting on God to give him a wife.
Yeah.
And so God spoke to me first.
Wow.
And I felt, now God, this is too much. This guy cannot handle me. He's older than me by 2 years, but I needed someone way older than me. I felt that I needed someone way older than me, considering I have 2 teenage boys,
Yeah.
and a daughter,
And a girl. Yeah.
and a girl. This guy has never been married. He doesn't know how to bring up children.
Never had kids ever.
Yeah, and this guy is all calm. How will he handle me with all
Exactly.
this?
So you had a man that you knew, you had envisioned a man.
Yeah, for myself.
yourself.
And I kept telling God.
Yeah.
But I think God has a great sense of humor. I keep saying that,
Yeah.
because he kept saying, this is your husband.
Wow.
And each time sometimes I would see a vision, sometimes I would get a dream, any confirmation here and there and there
Exactly.
and there. But I also wondered, how come God is not speaking to him?
Yeah.
Because he was quiet, he was not telling me something. We were friends, just friends. But time came, and one day, last year, October, he said, Celine, I need to meet you. I'm traveling from Nakuru. I'm going to Machakos, that's where he comes from.
Yeah.
And I need to see you in town.
Yeah.
And dude came with a ring. And
To propose.
to propose.
Were you even dating?
No, we have never dated. As
Wow.
in, we've never dated. We were friends, and I think that's the best thing. Just be friends first,
Wow.
because I know everything about me. He
Yeah.
knows everything about me.
Yeah.
And he proposed. He said, Celine, I need you to be my woman, and not just my woman. I need you to be my wife. And I was just shocked. I knew, but I was just shocked.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to say yes, but then I said yes.
Yeah.
And immediately after the proposal, we started
Planning the
wedding.
Yeah.
And since we didn't want to, there were people who were against us.
Yeah.
People who didn't know, but not family.
Yeah.
His family loves me, and my family loves him. Just people started telling him things. Do you know Celine has gone through gang rapes? Do you know Celine has children? See, to the point, his pastor started now discouraging him. But then he said, I am in God's purpose.
Yeah.
And so we didn't want to ask people for money. So we decided we'll just go to the AG and have a civil wedding and just go home and eat ugali.
Yeah.
And so, we were given a date. We went to the AG and we were given a date.
Yeah.
And I remember my tailor making for me this nice dress and him a nice shirt.
Yeah.
And we decided we would just go and... But then God just works in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
And when he loves you, he keeps confirming that I am in this. And
Exactly.
when he starts something, he will do it to the end.
Exactly.
There's this friend of mine I had met earlier on Facebook also. She's called Shiko. Shiko saw something on her timeline. Someone was asking to bless a February bride with a gown.
Wow.
Since it's a love month.
Wow.
Shiko called me and told me, Celine, do I tell her your story? The lady is in Mombasa.
Yeah.
I told her, yeah, why not? If I get a gown, well and good.
Yeah.
And when the lady heard my story, she says that she didn't sleep. She's an MCA, by the way. She's Kilifi MCA.
Wow.
She didn't sleep. She started looking for event organizers. And she's in Mombasa. My wedding is to be in Nairobi.
Yeah.
People gave to the point they had to tell others, hold.
What?
Yes, from ground.
So people are planning your wedding and you don't know?
And I don't know. So the only thing they're telling me is, Celine, you go to a certain shop and measure your gown.
Yeah.
And I actually realized this is something big. Maybe 2 days. This is 1 week before the wedding.
Yeah.
Actually, but on Saturday, I had gone for Rakesha on Friday. And I found my pastor on his knees. And when I entered, he stood and he said, Celine, God wants to do something for you. And there's so much urgency that I was willing for you to just come for this Kesha. And I had actually said I would not attend that Kesha.
Yeah.
But this is now Friday. My wedding is to happen on Tuesday. So the wedding was planned within 1 week.
Wow.
And I realized it was something big just a day after the wedding. When now they gave me, 2 days before the wedding, they gave me cards to invite my friends.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, after we went to the AG in the morning, I had a nice gown, my hair was made nicely. After the AG, a car came. Actually, the owner of that fleet of cars did not even send a driver. He came himself.
Wow.
And he was with us the whole day. And it was a very, very beautiful wedding. And God is so amazing that after all what I've gone through, there is beauty in my story, because everyone who came to that wedding, I remember a friend who had said bad things to me, kneeling down and said, Celine, I am sorry. I have seen God in this wedding, because it was just a testimony.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Celine, what a story. What a story. Man, I think you need to write a book. Have you thought about it?
Yeah, I've thought about it.
You need to write a book.
I think I am in that space.
You're in that space.
Yes.
You need to write a book, because, man, your testimony is so encouraging. Like I said when we started, that there is nothing new under the sun. Everyone has gone through something. And other people have gone through worse.
Yeah.
You know. And the most important thing is for you to get up and move on with your life and be encouraged, you know. At the end of the day, there's something, the Bible says that all things work together for good. It might not seem like it's a good thing, but at the end of the day, God will make it good. So you all had for yourself. I don't need to belabor anything, but I hope you're encouraged where you are. If you're watching us, just be encouraged. Just know that God is able to get you out from the pits of hell, and He's able to show off, you know, you to the world just for His glory. So don't give up yet. Just, you know, trust Him, and I mean, He will make all things beautiful. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see you next Monday at 6 p.m. and please don't miss out. Thank you so much.
Wema TV, the voice of hope.